Where's Ron?
Ron's late. I hope he comes soon.
Oh,
Oh man.
what a surprise.
I just got out, man. You understand, escape rooms are one thing, but that Area 51, man, it's got like 57 levels of elevators. It's a lot of levels.
You've been there all weekend?
Gotcha,
I
man.
haven't been in VRChat for a while. It's because I've been busy. I've been busy trying to escape.
That's where you've been all weekend.
I'll tell you, I got one of my mugs, though. Yeah,
pretty sweet.
There,
Did you at least pay for it?
Oh no.
Oh well. Either way, I'm glad you're
Send me the
here.
bill.
Yeah, send me checks in the mail. Welcome to the VRChat developer stream for August 2019. We had a little bit of a rough start there, but we're all sorted now, probably. Hello, if you haven't been here before, my name is Tupper. I'm a community manager for VRChat. Who are you?
Looking at me?
Yeah.
I'm Ron.
All right. What do you do?
I work here. Hi. No, I'm the alien, obviously, that you all know, but I'm kind of do design stuff and community stuff and business stuff and creative stuff at VRChat. And over on the right here is Hackspanner, and this is somebody that I've actually worked with for like a decade now, I think. Ron.
Yeah,
we worked together on some other stuff. We worked at a company with the guy that did all the visual effects for the Matrix movies, and we did all kinds of early days explorations on AR and VR, like early days HoloLens stuff and Kinect stuff and music stuff and a lot of really interesting things. So joined VRChat, and actually Hackspanner showed me my first DK1 experience in the what was it called? Tuscany with the basketballs and not the Hydra razors.
Yeah, exactly.
Hydra razors?
Yeah, I had the Hydra then, and that was probably like the first time you got hands in VR, right? So
yeah,
pretty cool.
They were kind of wiggly.
Oh, the Hydra controllers.
Yeah,
I remember those. Yeah.
Magnetic kind of deals. And so and then what my kind of cool thing is I got him back because I got him his first experience in the Vive in my house. So he talked to me for like months about getting into the DK1. And I was like, yeah, I've seen VR. Last 20 years. Yeah. And then finally I put it on. I think he had to take me out and put some, take me to a bar first to get me. He had to take me out and actually go back, to look at it. Because I was just like, no. And then I finally did it, and I was just like, wow, this is going to change everything. And so that's been really cool. So yeah, Hackspanner joined really early on, and he helped, as you guys know, develop all the avatar systems that you guys are using, all the gesture stuff, all the Visine stuff. Like, there was a lot of existing tech, but Hackspanner and I and other people on the team all worked really hard to bring you this stuff. And you'll hear more about this later in this broadcast, basically, about all the stuff that Hackspanner has been working on and going to be working on. But yeah, I've known this guy a long time, great guy. He also runs around in VRChat quite often. And then, of course, Tupper, you all know Tupper. So I met, he was carrying a little sign that said, Community Council in some parking garage. And he was threatening, to like assemble the community. And so I parking garage. I just hired him. We just hired him. I just hired him.
A parking garage in VRChat, right?
Change things? Yeah.
Right.
Change things, then just okay, come on over. And then he came on over. And,
come on over, and we'll pay you for it. Turns out that oh geez. Well, anyways, now we're all here. We do have some things to talk about. We got actually quite a few things. But before we do that, I do have kind of a personal thing that we want to put out there, or that I want to put out there. During July, when we were working on all kinds of stuff, like the audio update that went out, that kind of thing, I said, hey, I'm going to Los Angeles. See you later. And I went to Anime Expo along with a bunch of other people. And some of you in chat were also there. So thanks for coming out. It was good to see all of you. Hope to see you next year or wherever we show up next. So just wanted to put that out there. So next up, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to get to before we get to it, because I feel like we want to prime you. We want to preload you. So some of the things we're going to be talking about. First, we're going to be talking about some recent issues you might have been running into with networking, weird things happening. We're going to kind of tell you what's been going on, what we're doing about it. We're also going to talk about networked IK and the things that we've been working on to help improve it. We got some more news to tell you about with that. Our most recent update, which was 2019.2.5, I saw that, we're going to kind of tell you what's a lot to do with audio. So we're going to talk about audio. In fact, Hackspanner is going to drive that mostly. And then let's see, what else is on my list here? We have a few changes and improvements to performance-related systems that are on the way. That's in the next, it's currently in open beta, actually, so you might already know about it a little bit. After that, we're going to get you up to date on the progress of Udon, as long as I don't pull my arm back too far. And finally, we'll let you know where we currently are on that roadmap that we discussed a while back in our blog post. So that's a lot. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing, what was the first thing? Oh yeah, the recent network issues. So you might have noticed recently, if you've been spending some time in VRChat, that occasionally you would run into hiccups where, depending on where you were connected and how you were playing VRChat, either everyone would stop moving and just kind of freeze frame and you could still hear them talking, or everyone would just freeze for like 5 to 10 seconds. This is because of some networking issues. It's not networked IK specifically, it's networking period. It just so happens that when networking breaks, so does networked IK. Imagine that. So we're working on that. We know about these. We've been working with our providers on figuring it out and fixing it. But we just wanted to let you know, hey, we know about it. We're addressing it. In fact, we've already been making improvements over the past 2 weeks or so to help improve it. But yeah, we appreciate your patience while we work this stuff out. As a nice bonus, though, we did actually, as a part of a lot of our changes and trying to figure this out, we managed to reduce our disconnects like from VRChat as a total by a pretty significant margin. So, hey, nice bonus. But yeah, that's kind of the stuff that we wanted to get out there as a PSA. Let's talk about some of the things that we just did, like audio.
Okay. Yeah, as you know, in 2019 2.5, we made a big bunch of changes to audio. We hadn't touched audio in a while. We feel a little bit bad about you going through some issues with like close-in audio when you had large groups of people together. There was some breakdown on the spatialization. It wasn't a great experience. So we went back and we looked at that. We took some time to sit down and kind of reevaluate things. We had a lot of testers help us out too, which we're really grateful for. It was really important to do that. Since audio is such a personal kind of perceptual thing, having a lot of opinions, a lot of brains thinking and hearing and talking about it really helped us a lot. So in our evaluation, we looked at a bunch of audio libraries, not just the current one, which is the Oculus one, but we also looked at Steam, Google Resonance, and this other library called Superpowered, which is pretty interesting. But we decided to stick with Oculus. It was the most familiar. I mean, you guys have all used it already. You understand how it works. And it also does now provide a lot of the advanced features that the other ones had that we were interested in. And finally, we got a lot of really good support already from Oculus, so we felt good about sticking with them. And then, like I said before, our betas really helped us a lot. It's the kind of thing we needed a lot of people together, a lot of people talking, and then a lot of opinions about how does it sound to you. So that worked really well for us. We think that, like overall, we did a pretty good job from the reports we've been hearing about. Kind of the process of how we kind of went through this was we spent a lot of time looking at the realistic issues of the audio, the spatialization parameters, and tuning that to be super realistic, like extremely realistic. And then we threw that into a bunch of people, and that wasn't good enough. Realism wasn't good enough. We needed special kind of adjustments because of our particular usage. Having a pure realistic thing wasn't ideal for us. So we did a lot of tweaks to the way sound falls off. We added some audio effects like the compressors and the low pass filters to kind of smooth out the audio, to improve how you hear people around you and kind of judge their distance and how close they are to you. So like all those things kind of came together, and we iterated a lot and experimented with a lot of large groups of people and came out with what we've got. And I think we've heard that it sounds much better than before. like especially what we tuned for was like small spaces with large groups together, crowded spaces. Like if you're talking in a group of people and there's people near you, you can still focus on the conversation. That's really what we wanted to get right. So I think that came out really good. We've heard really good reports. Like Murder 2, we've been hearing a lot of people saying that that's a much better game now. Like you being able to chat on the side.
Shout out to Sci-Fi. I was on Sci-Fi stream I just jumped in his chat on Friday, and I was just kind of asking him and other people what they thought, and one of the recommendations was go play Murder. I went and played Murder, and I don't know if you guys know, but there's a low pass filter now that kind of again, as Hackspanner said, realism is kind of one thing, but the other thing is trying to develop a system that makes VRChat more fun or more conducive to chats or games. And in Murder now, when people are further away, they're kind of muffled. And it just that actually makes Murder to me a lot more fun, because you just hear this muffled. Someone's over there, but it's like a muffled. It's not like a super clear,
like a murmur.
And I think that for me, that I enjoy that. I mean, you guys tell us what you think, but I personally think that's great. And also, even areas like the box that are just big, giant open areas, I personally like to be in a kind of a group chat and then walk away and hear that turn into a murmur, kind of, and then go talk to other people. And that's also, you should probably talk a little bit about the cone, because that's also super important.
So we did get rid of voice prioritization. We found that the two kind of ideas fought with each other. A really good spatialization doesn't need voice prioritization, because your brain can do that. Your brain, if it gets really good positioning, will filter out audio that's not where you're focusing. So the voice prioritization was kind of overriding the spatialization, causing conflicts, and we decided to remove that. That helped a lot. The voice cone has actually always been in there, but that is not a spatialization dependent thing, because it is based on the talker's direction, and so we kind of have a louder audio coming out from in front of the speaker, and less it's lowered audio behind them. So as people move around you, you'll hear them like not focus on you if they're talking away from you. So that helped a lot with the other kind of perceptual parts of spatialization. I think that was.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the SDK components and?
So we added this. We really tuned for this ideal experience that we wanted to have, like a room with a lot of people in small crowds. Try to make that sound really good. That just the defaults are good for that kind of setup. But of course, you're going to make your own worlds. They may have their own needs, and so we added a SDK component to allow you to kind of adjust that for your specific need. And we call that VRC Player Audio Override. It's particularly designed. Our initial idea for it is for something like a stage where you have a performer. They need to project more than a normal person would. If there's talking in a small crowd, that's a different kind of voice requirement than someone on stage, and they want to project their voice out to the whole audience. Since it can do those adjustments, it's also useful for something like quieting an audience. If you are up on stage and you don't want to have the audience interrupt you, or at least leave them at a murmur, it's possible to do that as well.
We've solved hecklers. Hecklers are no more.
Yep.
There's another interesting thing about that, and that for me, and when we started working on this, Hackspanner and I, for me, I'd love to be in a place where I'm in the pug and I go into a booth and I sit in the booth. And the people in the booth that I'm near, I can hear, and it lowers the volume of the people outside the booth. So this is early beginnings of those kind of systems. Kind of, if someone wants to take those systems and play around with them, they can layer them in such a way that might be possible. But later down the line, again, this is just all in the possibility space. We're a VRChat team is very it's a great team, but they're very exploratory, right? We want to explore these ideas in the context of how useful are they. And again, as Hackspanner said, the community has been fantastic when we do our open betas and stuff. And we've gone in and like launched a version and go in there, like they're just all like boo, this
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Oops.
And we're like, we all thought it was great, and they're like, no, this sucks. And so we're like, oh, and so we have to go back and and that's been great. But going forward, we've looked at things like occlusion and other interesting things for audio. I'm, if you know me or you've hung out with me, and Hackspanner and I actually have even performed live visual and audio stuff in San Francisco. Like, I'm big into audio, I'm big into voice, I'm big into sound and music, and more, we really want to help performers, help stuff with MIDI, help stuff, not just voice, but we want to make, performing and music and things like that in VRChat. And actually, I think Gunter, who's behind the camera, who you can't see right now, who's running the stream, Open Mic is his world, a very popular world, and he should have updated it. I'm not sure if he's made it live or not today.
Yes, I believe he said he has. So, like, a good example of the stage performance thing is now live in Open Mic. So you can go to Open Mic night and try it out. Yeah, and we also have some good examples in our SDK of how to use that component. So if you have some questions about that, try those out. They've got some different settings, so you can see how things get muted or expanded. It also it affects voice, so you can set the settings for how voice performs, but you can also set avatar limits. So if you want to make sure that customized avatar audio lowers in a section, or even, have a crazy world where you can have infinite distance on your avatar audio. You'll love that, right?
I'm already loud. I'm already loud
Yeah.
in person. I don't know if I want to be louder in VRChat.
Right.
Ron has infinite fall off in real life.
Yeah.
There you go.
Actually, those old town criers that walk through the towns. Oh yay! Oh, I've always thought I would rock at that job.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry. That's just what I was born with. Loudness.
It's how I am.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. So like to stick with the decay changes, we've also added VRC spatial audio component. Before you probably used ONSP. This is kind of a simplification, I would say, but it still allows advanced options. There are advanced rollouts, but the interface has been simplified. So if you don't want to dive deep in, if you want to just use some standard settings, they're there for you, and it's simpler to use than kind of like figuring out ONSP. It works with ONSP, so it's the behavior is pretty much the same. It's just easier to kind of look at and figure out how to use. So hopefully that'll help you. And the SDK examples, I believe, show that as well.
So one thing we should also talk about with the audio, just that I forgot about and didn't add to the notes, was the actual settings menu and why that's better.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk and the
sure.
That?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, you know more about it, but because you built it. But for me, like as a layman, so that whole audio menu before, if you guys remember, it had like a million. And this is something I'll talk about a little bit more later with the UI, but it had like 19 slider bars. I would go in there and try to turn down the game sound effects, and they would turn down like the game sound effects 1 or 5. I'm like, no, just the main.
Yeah, there were a lot.
One, so
it's complicated.
So Hackspanner actually it very smartly in one of the builds just like gutted that and just like made it so that it was, and it kind of clusters some things together, but I think it's in a really good way. So now you just have basically UI menu sounds. Yes, the loading screen should probably be quieter, but world voices and avatars, and the master for people that have setups that maybe they don't think are loud enough. I mean, everyone's ears are different. Everyone's setup is different. That's one of the difficult things about hardware. Everyone's mic, everyone's literal biology, or how loud they like something or not is different. So now we have a setting that will let you go over 100%. Now I actually wish we had kind of a safety warning about that, but you can grab the master control and crank it. So if you want.
Oh, and it gets loud
it's
too.
not loud enough, it gets loud. So
yeah,
the kind of hard thing to do with audio, it's just really the one size fits all thing. So we tried to, make it as adaptable as possible for people. Make it, give you guys a setting we think that new users of VRChat and kind of the general population will enjoy, and then anyone that has any issues can adjust those things taste. So there you go. And the other thing with the avatar stuff, we worked on that a little bit to try to make sure that one thing I really like is, I like watching an avatar on top of a mountaintop perform an entire, drum and bass set or dubstep set, right? And so we didn't want to, and then there's other people that walk around and they just blast really annoying stuff just on purpose to irritate people. And so there's a tricky balance in there between, not upsetting our creators or upsetting people that want to enjoy fantastic, audio performances on top of a mountain versus just someone walking into you're having a casual conversation and here comes a random person, just blow your eardrums out. So I think we've struck a nice balance there where it's compressed for people that want it to be. It won't go above an ear bleed limit. But there's also settings in there. Like if people wanted to make a world that does that, they can use the SDK, they can crank things. And you can basically build a stage or build a mountaintop that has worldwide avatar, audio blasting at max volume sound effects. So if you want to experience that, they can. So now that those things exist for creators and experience.
And 2D audio too. That's like that was a thing that like people would kind of figure out ways to do. But then we're like, hey, people are using this in interesting ways. Let's make sure it's controlled, but then also let people use it. Yeah. So finding that balance was the tough part.
So we gave you that power. Use it wisely. Use it wisely.
Great power. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed VRChat since this has been in. Really enjoyed it a lot. But as always, you have specific issues or things that are broken. There is a new build coming a week from now that has a few fixes and things. There's a few hiccups and stuff in there. Be patient with us. We've heard all the feedback, and we're going to try to update that. In about a week now, there'll be another version. So anyway, I think is that all the audio news?
I think we've covered most of the audio stuff. I think Tupper's got some more interesting things to talk about here.
So that's it for the audio stuff, but let's talk about the things that we're working on right now, things that we have in our open beta, the thing you just mentioned. So there's a couple of different things that we're either working on right now or is in that open beta. This first thing is not in open beta yet, but it will probably be in one of the upcoming releases after this one. This one being the one that's currently in open beta. I've said that way too many times too quickly. Anyways, networked IK improvements. This is something that a lot of people have been asking a lot about because obviously it impacts literally every person that is using VR and VRChat, and even some people who aren't using VR because you have to look at other people. So we know networked IK isn't perfect yet. That's obvious. A lot of people that play VRChat rely on the precision and accuracy for their enjoyment of VRChat. It's why they come here because, there's nowhere really else you can go for that kind of opportunity. There's dancers, there's other full body users, especially that feel these changes the most. We realize that a lot of people play VRChat just because of those types of activities. So all of that being said, we've got a lot of changes that are on the way that should help with networked IK and networking in general, really, to get a little bit more in depth, things like physics sync and stuff like that. However, these changes are really fundamental. They're very low level. They change a lot of the ways that the base network layer, to use a little bit more technical term, works. So we expect things to break for this. Obviously, we won't release it if it's broken, but what I'm saying is that this is going to take a while to test. It's going to take a while for us to iterate on. We're going to do closed tests, internal tests. We're going to have kind of like what we did with the audio update. We just kind of cycle through it.
Let me interrupt you for a second. So I heard our stream is getting jerky, and I just want to let people know that there's, Gunter is streaming from Mars, apparently. We've had some issues. Yeah.
I mean, he's doing pretty good for
sorry about that.
20 minutes of light delay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is not network IK issues. It's streaming stuff that's going on. So I just want to let people know I went to go check on it and back to.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see that network issues don't just affect IK. They affect a lot of different things. And even something as simple as just streaming on a connection can cause issues with that. But like I was saying, we're going to be iterating on those a lot. We're going to be working a lot with the community, kind of saying, hey, is this good? Hey, is this good? Hey, is this good? Over and over and over until we get it right. Because users are going to be a lot more, what's the word for this? Like, they're a lot more critical, especially things that they really can't concern themselves with as their pet thing that they're there for VRChat for. And for people like dancers, that's the thing, right?
Network. Yeah, it makes me sad when I see someone trying to do like a, really awesome dance, and it's it's herky jerky. Like that's not what we want at all.
Right, of course not. So to kind of sum it up, we're increasing fidelity for networked IK overall, and we're starting closed testing for these changes within the week. So this will be stuff that we're going to be testing with our closed community group, and then we'll eventually push to open, and then we'll eventually push to release. So, and that being said, I have seen some of the changes, and they're pretty good so far. It's very promising. So we'll see. There's another section as well that apparently I marked for myself that is sort of related to this. Performance. Just performance in general. Just performance. Capital P performance. So there's a lot of performance impacting stuff in VRChat, right? There's like worlds, there's avatars, there's the application itself, all kinds of overhead and things like that. So we've been kind of working a lot on the performance impacting stuff from the application. So like VRChat itself. We've been slipping in these optimizations just as we complete them, just forever. That's just kind of how we do it. But we've been slipping in more and more over time. Some releases had more optimization fixes than the others, but we've gotten quite a bit of them out of the way as we've been going. One really visible optimization that we've got coming for you is a huge reduction in the amount of time that it takes to load avatars. In the latest open beta, avatar loading time has gone from tens of seconds, or worse for more complex avatars, to under a second in almost all cases. So we're going to show you an example.
Video?
Yeah, we do. We have a video. I'm going to explain this first before we show it because it's like a 15-second video. Don't show it yet, Gunter.
I really feel like we're on the news channel now where we're like, roll the clip.
Is it going to pop up like right here? Yeah. So the avatar I'm going to show you it's a complex avatar. You might have seen it if you've been to Mimi's world avatar testing. She has it in there as a debug avatar. It has a ton of shaders, it has cameras on it, has a ton of different game objects on it. In live, it takes about 15 seconds to load. But on the open beta, well, you'll see. So go ahead, Gunther. Let me know when it's playing and when it's done. Or actually when it's playing, because you're just going to let it loop. Is it good? Is it going?
It has no mic.
It's playing. Should be good. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
Well, as you can see, I think it's just going over and over. So ignore the actual avatar itself. It doesn't look heavy, but I assure you it is. You can actually go to avatar testing and try it on. It takes like 15 seconds to load in live. In open beta, and again, you can test this right now, go on open beta, it takes like a second to load at worst. And this is true for most avatars that are super heavy. I've seen some of our more creative testers try some exceedingly heavy avatars. And even the worst ones that would take like minutes to load in current live take like 4 seconds.
I just want to give some props to TCL for
yes.
doing that.
If you guys know TCL, and you should because he's awesome, he's the one who hunted that down and worked on it. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're working on. All right, Gunther, we're good. I can post that video up on Twitter later, along with some of the other stuff we're doing. But again, it's on open beta right now, so you can try it. Like, go try it with your avatars and go try it with your friends. If you're not in the open beta, go in our Discord, go in the open beta info channel and check it out. So there's other optimizations that we have to work on. That's just one thing. Surprisingly, VRChat has a lot going on in it. So we're going to keep working on those. Keep an eye out for those kinds of changes and improvements. We'll try and show them off when we can. But I really encourage you to go and check out the open beta patch notes as we put them out. So there's another part of performance, and this one's a little bit, I guess, closer to home for the creators. A lot of the performance in VRChat is determined by the environment that you're in and the people that are around, as in the avatars that they're wearing.
Hey, I'm not doing anything to performance, man. This avatar's
you
from
got
1995.
20 lights on and a million particles going around. Yeah,
He's
well,
not exactly high fidelity.
I'm like excellent squared. Come on.
Yeah, he's got the extra super special one. But the reason why I mention this is that part of dealing with optimization and learning with that is that you're going to have a lot of users that haven't really figured out optimization just yet. So what we've done is we have that avatar minimum displayed performance rank thing, which is a really long phrase. But basically, in one of our previous updates, we made it so you could say, I only want to see avatars that are rated poor or above or medium or above. And right now it's kind of a dumb system, as in it's not really smart in how it hides avatars once something has exceeded limits. In the next release, what it does now is it depending on what you exceed for that avatar exceeds, rather, let's put it that way. Like if it has too many lights, we'll just remove the lights instead of hiding the avatar. If it has too many like
wait.
animators or whatever, we'll just remove those.
I'm hearing cheers through the screen. I'm literally hearing.
Well, yeah. This is something that it was actually interesting watching this. Both the community and us internally kind of like simultaneously but independently came up with this. It was like, hey, why don't you guys do this and set it so it does all these sorts of things? And it got posted up on our feedback boards. And meanwhile, internally, we're like talking, we're saying, hey, why don't we do this instead?
Yeah.
And then the next day, we both looked at it. It was like, oh man, we came up with this. So yes, thank you to everyone who put in their ideas for this kind of thing. Because I mean, it definitely helped with this kind of stuff. But it behaves a lot better. It doesn't hide the avatar unless it absolutely needs to. I don't know off the top of my head the exact categories.
Is this on open beta?
Yeah, no, you can try it right now. It's just like the avatar loading thing.
Yeah,
but
I've used it. Like I love the interface now. Because you click on someone, you click on it, and it shows like what they are, and it shows. Do we have a picture of it or not?
No, I didn't get a picture for that. But yeah, you're right. You'll see you'll see kind of like a before and after in the avatar stats now. So it's like before they had 80 lights and now they have 0. It's like, oh well, okay, now I know why it got affected. There are for some of the components there's not really a way for us to degrade the avatar. So for things like you're exceeding triangle count, or you've got too many meshes, you got too many skin meshes. What else is in there? Too many bones. I think those are the categories. I might be missing one where the avatar still gets hidden. But for everything else, including bound size, it's just for bound size, we actually don't do anything for bound size. We just say, hey, fix it. But for the rest of them, we remove the components that are like causing you problems. We also fix the bound size calculation for people with markers. So there you go. But yeah, that's it for kind of the stuff that's coming for the performance stuff. Now there's one more thing that's coming for Quest users that we are kind of in the early development stages for. We're not ready to show anything off just yet, but we are working on it because it's a pretty complex thing.
Oh dang!
We're working on we're working on ways to make it so that Quest users can see PC avatars. Now, this isn't going to be like an exact one-to-one thing. You're not going to have exactly the PC avatar in the Quest. Obviously, if we just did that, then all our problems would be solved. There you go. But we're working on different ways to kind of display the avatar in the Quest version of VRChat such that you actually see the avatar, right?
I actually want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
I know Hackspanner and Mike and other people in the company have been working. So we obviously it's not great to be in Quest run-in and everyone's an avatar with their a robot with an avatar in their chest. That's awful, right? Who wants to see a bunch of robots? Like that's not why I came to VRChat. I want to see people as they are. And so we've actually done a lot of experiments, and I'm going to just sort of elaborate just a little bit on some of the experiments. So we've tried voxels, we've tried Paper Mario style, we've tried this sort of blend between 3D Paper Mario and Mario style. We've tried some really elaborate versions of taking pictures of the avatars in all sorts of angles and stuff. And there's a couple. We even tried this like Star Wars style hologram. It has like an outline, kind of like you look like.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And so we've done a lot of cool experiments. I think it's really just one of these. It's a very difficult problem. I don't think anyone's ever solved it. I think that there's ways to solve it. I think there's more hardcore ways to solve it. Like every time someone uploads an avatar, we have an offline process that processes the thing and kind of makes our version of the avatar. And anyway, so there's all these extra, but we're working on it. Like we're aware of it. I personally don't like it. I want it to be. I want everyone to sort of at least understand if I see Tupper standing in front of me. Okay, sure, he's not here in his full glory, but I can sort of see that he's who he, the representation of who he is, and he can reach out and it's not a flat. It's not like a Warhammer.
It's not like a cutout. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
Billboard.
Like boring like billboard version of Tupper. Although I can sort of see how that would be appealing too.
What? I mean, I guess there's people who do shaders to that.
Yes, I'm joking, man. Anyway, like that's kind of where we are with that. We're working in the background. It's a very difficult problem to solve. We actually have somebody specifically working on it, and we'll see if we can solve it. difficult problem. I think we're going to end up in a place where we're going to have to sort of agree to disagree that there's a version of you that you sort of accept that's not a robot, but we'll do the best we can. If anybody out there has ideas, throw it in the canny. Seriously, love to hear from you. Ways to solve seeing PC avatars on Quest. That would be fantastic.
It's not easy. You can't just take the asset and throw it on there. It's got to be for Android. Anyways, so that's all the performance kind of stuff that we have for there. But I think Hack, you have something to talk about with the SDK that we've been working on.
Yeah. So lots of stuff happened in 3.1 or will happen in 3.1. We're basically moving along with the SDK. We're coming out with something we're calling SDK 2.1, which is mainly the main focus of it was revising the UI a bit, making the control panel a little bit easier to use, a little kind of slicker, and fixing a lot of bugs overall with the SDK. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that we fixed is not just bugs in the SDK, but in the client that gets affected by the SDK. But like just using the SDK with this newer version, it's much more performant. We don't have the same hitches and slowdowns that we were getting. I know a lot of people were complaining about. Those have been majorly solved. In general, it should just be easier to kind of get into the SDK and use it. We had a lot of kind of disjointed menus and drop downs before, and we're kind of consolidating them. So that should be a lot better. If you want to check out the SDK, we have it available as part of the open beta. You can try out these things, give us your feedback. And then beyond that, we're gonna move beyond 2.1. We have some work starting on what we're calling 3.0, and 3.0 is basically going to be designed around Udon. It's going to be our expanded SDK, knowing that we have scriptable access like Udon's going to give us. So we're basically kind of open up a lot of the API in a way that makes sense for Udon. So that's basically our goal for 3.0. We've already started on it. We've got a lot of good ideas coming through there. I mean, you can expect to see things like expanding how triggers work so that, maybe passing arguments or variables through triggers now. Things like that that will help Udon work better with triggers. That's the SDK.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Udon, sure.
Yeah. Just wanted to sort of say that one person in particular in our team has been super dedicated in the last month, just literally to taking all the things in Canny that have been the hot points, the hot issues. Like, I know our prefab group out there and other people out there.
Yeah, the prefab community. Yep. I've
been calling out like this and Owlboy, creator of the Pug, awesome guy, calling out all these problems. And some of them have been like a year long. They've been Princess and the Pea kind of thing. There's been like a problem for like a year. We assigned a person basically it's dedicated to trying to attack some of those things. And so I think in a week from now on a release, there's going to be a whole bunch of bug fixes to the SDK.
There's a ton. They're all in the open beta change logs.
Yeah, so I just wanted to call that out. Like, it's not sorry if I'm repeating some stuff that Hackspanner just said, but
if you've run into those smaller bugs, and I know all the VRC prefab people will be really excited to play with the open beta and the new SDK with that, because those bugs are resolved in there, and I think they'll be happy with the progress we've made, and that's still going. Yeah. That's still going on. Yeah.
Sorry,
but no worries.
I didn't mean to stop the Udon.
But now Tupper gets to talk about Udon.
Hang on, drum roll.
I was watching chat and I was pretty sure they were about to like jump out of the camera and just be like, "No, give it back! It was right there." Well, anyways, I saw you, chat, when we mentioned Udon. Oh no!
Hi, chat. How's it going?
He's using the udon on me. I
Use his
saw you,
alien
chat, as you.
powers.
Oh no, my chat panels are all screwed. Great. I saw all the hype, and we got some more info for you. In fact, Gunter has this great image that we're going to pop up right now. We're going to tell you where udon is right now, where we're at, and what's next. So, Gunter, is it up on screen? I can't tell.
It is.
Awesome. So as you can see, we've got this beautiful new graphic by our very own Rocktopus, who has kind of laid it out for you here. There's two different tracks that are here. The top track is our release progress, which we are on track with our current Udon release schedule. We're currently doing internal testing, as in Udon is running right now, and we are doing internal testing with it. We're kind of wrapping up, as you can see in the bottom section there, the Udon current development. We were wrapping up the core and the engine, the back end, basically the framework for all of that to work. And we're moving on to the node graph and UX features necessary for Udon to work. We are moving on in our release progress to close testing very soon. It's something that we're looking on the order of like, I think weeks was probably a decent estimate for closed testing.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But we're getting the closed testing within this quarter, which is exactly on schedule that we kind of laid out before, which means that we are continuing on our schedule for open beta to be announced probably during quarter 4, and then release also during quarter 4. So yeah, that's where we're going right now. Again, we're using internally right now. We're testing it out. We're kind of trying things out. We don't have anything to show off just yet. There's a good bit of work to do, but we're going to keep you up to date as much as we can. The development is continuing per the schedule that we laid out in our roadmap plan. But yeah, we're aiming for closed testing soon. Gunter, if you're still on the screen, come back. Bring it back. Okay. So some of the things that we're doing with the SDK, as Hackspanner mentioned, and a lot of the things that we're doing with Udon depend on something very important, and that is Unity 2018 LTS. So a lot of our roadmap items that we kind of need to work on, which we'll be getting to in a second, depend on Unity 2018. We have been working on the Unity 2018 upgrade. We plan on getting it out as soon as we can. As usual, major Unity upgrades can be disruptive, even if it's an LTS, because you're still going from an LTS to an LTS. There's a lot of changes. So we're taking our time. We don't want to be super disruptive. It would be a good time now that if you're really interested and you're an interested creator to take a look at the latest 2018 LTS, look at some of the new features, look at some of the new changes. I think they changed their UI and UX in some of the parts of Unity. I don't know. I haven't looked yet myself. But I have looked at the patch notes, and there's just obviously a ton of stuff between 2017 and 2018 LTS. So we're working on that. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, yes. The upgrade allows us to continue onwards with some of our roadmap items, which is what we're going to talk about next. Ron, if your mic works.
Hey. I just wanted you to have an uncomfortable silence.
Oh, well, you did it. Good job.
Mission accomplished.
It's like when you're dating and you're sitting across the table from each other, and you're both sitting there and you're eating your spaghetti, getting all over you.
Yeah, we're just going to drink our coffee.
Yeah.
And you finally have that moment, and there's the uncomfortable silence, and then you really
Do we have to have spaghetti? Can we have SpaghettiOs?
If you're meant to be with each other or not. If you can survive the uncomfortable silence, you know it's a thing.
This troll espresso is the stuff right here, man. You should try.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me add some of that in there.
Yeah.
Let me add some udon in there too. Hang on, let me add some everything in there. What's this? Beta? Oh yeah, that's definitely going in there.
No, that's chat's calling us out for our poor taste in food combinations. Spaghetti and coffee? Really?
No, I mean, I wasn't talking about coffee when I was talking about uncomfortable silence. That's
okay.
Date. That's because when you go on a date, you get spaghetti all over yourself. It's like that's the hardest thing to order on a date, right? Like you're sitting across.
Oh, I see.
You're slurping. There's like.
See, I always thought you just drop all your spaghetti, but maybe that's something else.
Anyway, all right. So
the roadmap. What is that thing?
Yeah, what is that thing? Gunter, you want to show what's our focus, and let me leave my voice on so I can talk about it for a minute.
I'd be happy to.
Cool, thanks. So one of the things about VRChat is excuse me, we're kind of the victim of a lot of, of our success with a lot of traffic coming in, and us constantly having to deal with security and bugs and upgrades and all these other things. And we decided this year, at least the middle of the year, to focus the next 6 months basically on the community. So we wanted to enable creators. I mean, the macro goal here is by the holidays, like by Christmas, to have Udon in place, to have major upgrades to avatars, to have upgrades to social systems, to have upgrades to UI. Really it's to enable expression and to, allow our community to be able to use VRChat as we truly intended. I think a lot of people don't understand that a lot of VRChat is, it's a small team. We've said this, it sounds like we're echoing the same thing we're always echoing, but it's true. We're a small team, we're Unity-based, we're a lot of talented people here, but we're working really hard towards, trying to make VRChat what it really needs to be. And I think that for me in particular, and I think for a lot of our team, and maybe misunderstood by the community, is that VRChat's not a complete thing. We didn't put this out as a complete application, game, or platform, or whatever you want to call it. It's not quite all the way there, right? And things like the UI, things like the avatar systems, they're honestly just scratching the surface of where they really could be. And big things like Udon, they're not there yet because we don't have scripting in VRChat. Not necessarily we have an SDK, but we don't have the ability for people to really implement their dreams basically into VRChat. So for one, right now we're working on stuff, and it seems like it's what's taking so long. It's like we're trying to do things correctly so that security is better, so that when it goes out, it's a big deal. So it actually helps the community. That's why avatars, which we'll talk about in a minute. That's why some of the social features we'll talk about in a minute. So let me just kind of go over things a little bit. The biggest issues we have and that pain me are stability and security. Like, I don't want to go into VRChat and I'm getting DDoSed. I'm getting kicked out of my public instance. So like that's not fun, and we're aware of that, and that's a very, very difficult thing to deal with. Every popular application deals with it. So we have dedicated people working, as hard as they can on stability, security, and all the things that go along with that. I mean, there's nothing we could do is more important than those things, and we can't really discuss them very often because, you don't want to. You kind of don't want
security.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Hey, we're doing this. It's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
And those kind of things.
But,
so.
I was just going to say that this the image here, we're kind of, I wanted to point out specifically, people can't see I'm pointing at the damn thing, but there's but the image is up. Did you point out the kind of like the refresh thing here? That's important, and we've changed this since the last time we brought it up.
So one thing I also want to kind of point out is we kind of made a mistake about primary and secondary focus. We just couldn't think of the words to say, but really we have these larger scale efforts going on that are heavily focused. Like if we do something this year, if we did anything this year, it would be stability, security, and SDK and Udon, right? Like those would be the big things that would really push VRChat forward. I think that's kind of like why it says primary focus. It's not really like we're only focused on that. It's just that we failed at coming up with a nomenclature for that. Like we should probably have better. I blame you for that.
Yeah.
You're the English major. So the secondary focus, Gunter, can you switch to secondary focus for a second? Let me know when you're.
This is the big one.
Cool.
Nice.
Here's a lot of things. Okay, so let me sort of explain for
Understatement.
what happened and what went on in the last couple of months. So we, as you heard earlier, dived into audio, and audio actually took a long time. Like it's not. The other thing you have to understand is it's not like VRChat as a whole is just focusing on one thing at a time. We have multiple people focusing on different things, and Hackspanner was focused on audio and avatar stuff. So, audio got a really good iteration, and it's out, and you guys should hopefully be enjoying that. And so that's why we have a checkbox on that. We feel like other than some MIDI and OSC improvements, That's updated.
Mhm.
Some of the other bigger components of VRChat is the UI. So the UI currently in VRChat, when you open your quick menu, when you look at that mic in your HUD that people get annoyed by, or turn off your nameplates because they're not immersive, and you go to the world menu and you have to scroll these rows, or you can't organize your avatars because they're all of this stuff is UI, and it's how you use VRChat. And me in particular, but our team is super aware that our UI is pretty rudimentary. In fact, it's semi-prototype in a lot of ways. And the other thing is Unity 2018 allows a lot of really great things, nested prefabs. We can do some scripted objects. We can do all these interesting things. One of the problems with VRChat is that we try to apply new features, and our UI has kind of gotten in the way of us being able to apply those new features or implement those new features. And so in tugging on the thread of UI, we've decided to actually take a pretty big step of redoing the UI architecture. That includes how it's created, how it's iterated, how it's controlled, how it, the goals for it and everything. And it's very, very hard, probably hard to read. At least for me, it's hard to read. Maybe for you, it's not hard to read. But one of the big things is UI is going to use 2018 systems, and that's a thing that I think is going to really help. There's a lot of great new technology there's a lot of advancements in UI that's going to be good. Another thing we're going to do is review and iterate on all UI design of VRChat. So there's a lot of things like the nameplate, right? Those things were just designed initially to call out who somebody was, their trust level. And if you open, one of the ideas is if you open the menu, it's kind of like a tricorder. You can see more information about someone, but that's sort of not really the right way to do it. And kind of a more interesting way to do it is AR and VR, right? Like possibly having lenses or modes in VR, right? Where you can, I'm in streamer mode, or I'm in technical mode, or I'm in social mode, or I'm in presence mode. And everything you see and do is affected by potentially those modes. So improving basically the way the menus work, like the quick menu, even the laser, even the ending cursor, it's just like this really, if you open your quick menu right now and look at it, it's a blasting explosionary particle instead of an informative, like, oh, you can scroll, oh, you can grab, or you can, these are all things that are sort of holdovers from VRChat being in a lot of ways sort of prototypey and clunky. And so we want to improve those things. Another thing that's huge to VRChat that I've really wanted to add is news and information. Buddy. A lot of arm swinging going on there.
Dude, I gotta burn off this energy. Yeah. They can't see what you're talking about. They're still looking at the image.
Oh, that's right. They're not seeing what you're doing.
He's like fusion powered. Really, you can see back here.
I totally forgot about that. So a really big deal, for me is news and info. So one of the things about VRChat is we release blogs, or we do these dev streams, or we do stuff, but we don't actually. There's no way in VRChat, like there's a lot of misinformation. So we'll do a release, right, and then you'll get all this crazy Discord, Twitter, YouTubes. You'll get all this stuff that people start guessing or assuming what's going on instead of like, well, no, we put a blog out about it, or no, the dev stream, or no, look at the release notes. And so I feel like, putting something in the menu where you can just go get updates, you can just go get information, would be a really valuable thing for the community. Because most people don't do that, especially people on mobile devices like Quest. They're not really connected. They're not running on desktop, right? Also, letting users define themselves. Like I've met lots of people, had great times with them on one night, and then that happens over and over and over again. And you compile that into a month-long, session of VRChat. I can't remember 3 weeks ago when I had fun for an hour with somebody, who they were or what they were doing. Like I would love to see a bio on that person. I'd love to see their interests. I'd love to remember, how did I meet them? How did I become friends with them? So I feel like, better information, letting users define themselves, I think is a really important thing. A hugely annoying thing is the invite request system, right? So I'm getting invites from people and I'm like, I'm busy, but you don't want to blow them off either. And so that's a complicated thing we've kind of dived into internally a little bit. We want better automated systems, so we do automated canned responses, but we also just want a better overall invite and request system. And there's actually more to that than just the invite request system. There's better social systems and so on, which I'll talk about in a minute. a big thing that I've seen with Virtual Market, with Islands in the Sky and other things is world authors being able to augment the UI, right? Being able to, when you open up your menu, there are things in the world that the world author can say. Like one thing I've wanted for a really long time is open my quick menu and there are teleport points to some of these larger worlds where like I can just open the quick menu and there's just instantly accessible teleport areas where I can go to the tower or the dungeon or the lake, or maybe they have things that you can adjust in the world to your liking. So we're trying to basically rebuild the UI so that it would allow world authors, including a little bit of Udon, to potentially be able to adjust those things, allowing possibly allowing users to reskin their UI. So this is a little bit of a super possibility, but if we redo the UI and we do it correctly, then it won't be that hard to actually let streamers and authors and creators and stuff, or even potentially, and this is a wild one, let's say world author can send you assets potentially when you load into a world, like you load into a dungeon grinder world, it changes the nameplates, it changes the UI, it doesn't change the functionality, it just changes the look. And so you can then have really cool kind of experiences that fit your avatars and stuff. And we've talked about interesting things too, like curving the nameplates over people and stuff. So there's a lot of really awesome stuff. But UI touches everything. It touches discovery, VRChat travel. It touches avatars. It touches lots and lots of things. And I think that it's really just a dashboard for lots of systems and stuff that we want to work on. So Tupper, I'm not sure if I'm getting off base here, but I want to talk a little bit about the social and a little bit about travel.
No, you're good.
So social,
actually,
basically.
Gunter, do we still have the image up, or do you actually have our camera up? Doot.
That's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. We got a director. Nice.
So go to social for a second. Let's talk about social. So there's a lot in VRChat for me that's, I use VRChat just like you guys do, and I have 1,000 friends. Like, what does that mean? There's no depth to them. I don't know if people are favorites or not. It's really hard for me to grab a group of people and move through VRChat. And, there's just all these problems with, like organizing better. Like, do we want to have groups? That's something that, when I joked with you guys earlier about meeting Tupper in a garage holding a little sign, like he really wanted, groups in VRChat. Like these are all really great ideas. And these are things that we're going to be exploring in the next few months. We're going to really look at all the social systems and see what can improve, like adding a bio, adding interests. Like if I go into a world, can I put on my AR and VR social lens and look out into the world and see like, oh, this person likes this thing, or these people are dating, or this person's, like is an avatar creator or a world creator. Like knowing these things as you go into these contexts, I think right now you kind of just go into these public mosh pits and you have no idea about anybody, about anything, about their bio, about any interest or anything. And I think that's kind of sad. I'd like to let people express themselves a little bit better so that they can self-organize and have information about what they have information about. And on top of that, VRChat travel is also a problem, right? Like I'm with my friends and I want to jump into a public instance and then cruise around together. So something we've talked about is friend portals, right? You drop a portal down, only your friends can see it. Even the act of dropping a portal, like why don't we make that like the HoloPort UI, where you drop a portal out and move the portal around the room to a safe, to a spot that's legal, and then say boom, portal, right? And all of these things take, you think about them, they sound great. When you start to develop them, there's obviously problems like, oh, you don't want to HoloPort troll somebody and drop a portal in their face and then they walk through. So there's a lot of things to think about with these kind of things. And then other sorts of things like being able to let people find like-minded people, instance creations with names, like, or I can click on Tupper and I can see, he's Spanish spoken and English spoken, or whatever it is. Like those kinds of things really help, I think, people that want it, other than just the meme and the fun, but people that want to move around VRChat and group together and discover things together and have more fun together. So these are all the things we're thinking about with basically in terms of VRChat, including custom instances. Like, I just want to name my instance Area 51. and like have people show up there for the Area 51. Like that's funny, right?
Yeah.
Our users are always more inventive than we could ever be, and I feel like the sort of bottom line is giving people more tools to self-organize, to create, to enable expression, all these kinds of things. And I think these are all achievable, especially in the next 6 to 9 months. I think that we'll be able to give people more features that are like that. So that's kind of my spiel for UI and UX. You'll notice on this diagram that UI does touch avatars, does touch expression. And I'll let Hackspanner talk a little bit more about avatars, but one thing I want to talk about is right now I don't want to open my quick menu to do a backflip, right? I just want to be able to maybe use my actual control system. Not saying this is what the control is going to be, but let's just say I hold down a button and then I can use a radial menu to pick more extended emotes or facial. Like I want to be sad, so yeah, exactly. Like I hold down a button, I push a radio menu, cheering. and I'm happy, or I'm sad, or I'm backflipping, or I'm being able to do things without. Hold on, everybody, let me find the emoji to that's kind of not great. And so having more just fluid feeling UI, which I've always wanted for VRChat. So redoing the UI brings a lot of things about that I think that everybody will enjoy. The other thing that we want to do is not alienate everybody, not give you guys a UI that you're like, what the hell is this? So I think along the way, we will definitely involve community. We'll definitely get tests out there. We'll definitely creators and builders and the community will invite them in and try to see what they think and feel of some of these tests that we do. So I think that's it for my larger sort of spiel of what we're doing. Again, it's enabling expression. It's giving you guys more tools. It's completing the mission for me, or VRChat 1.0, where we're giving you basically the ability to script in worlds, much better UI, much better avatar systems, and just kind of getting to a place where people have what they need to really have tons and tons of fun. And it not just be mirror simulator, right? Which I love, but right now at VRChat, it probably feels like all these things are missing, and people are wondering where they are, and they're coming. They just take a look. We want to do them right. We don't want to rush them. We could rush stuff out, but I feel like it's prudent to do it correctly and have a longer term vision. And I'm personally in this for the next 5 to 10 years. I want to see the metaverse, be what it needs to be, and not just rush it. So there you go.
These things, they take time. Someone very wise said that once. But I think you mentioned avatar expression stuff. I think you, Hackspanner, you have a couple things to mention about that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, all that stuff Ron was talking about, one of the projects, I mean, I'm really happy to tell everyone we have a project that is specifically focusing on increasing avatar expression and all the things around that, including the UI, like Ron was talking about. But basically, we need to rethink how avatars are made, how they're customized. We want to have allow users to create more flexible, expressive avatars. So we want to do this, but we also want to make sure that it's a coherent process. It's a straightforward process. We can explain easily to everyone. People can get into it and do it because we want everyone to make avatars. So I think one of the things around that Ron was hinting at is the control systems. Right now we have the gesture system, which is definitely been kind of overlaid and hacked by our users in really creative ways. We'd love to kind of smooth that out, turn that into like an actual system that you can expand upon, and we can have like underlying systems that mesh into it properly. It's going to involve increasing your ability to customize the animation graph, have access to more parameters in that, allow you to interface with the IK better. All that stuff is stuff we want to push forward as part of this project. And then it does come down to the controls. How do you control that system, which ties back into the UI UX stuff. We want to make sure you have some way to customize your own controls to perform all these things, since you're going to have a lot more ability and more ways to express. And I think one thing, like actually, Ron, I think you touched on it, but you didn't really go into like this possibility of like avatar to avatar communication.
Oh yeah, like so. There's a lot of stuff we know. We know people. I want to boop Tupper on the nose, right? Boop, and like Tupper particles come off, like avatar to avatar collision. But the other thing with UI is like Tupper has a poll, and he puts up like the UI that's like, am I cool or not? Right, and like I can click on like the
answer is not.
I can click on the and,
chat vote not.
Or another fun thing I thought of, just so this is a little bit more advanced and maybe more of a next year thing, but avatars having UI on them, so when you open up your quick menu, you can actually not just click on people's capsules, that you can essentially click on avatars and you can choose what animation they do, or you can choose like things that they've what maybe they have a playlist of it's a music video kind of avatar, and I can choose, next I want you to do this song, right? And then the avatar plays those things. So there's a lot of, it's just giving people these really interesting ways to navigate and ways to interact with VRChat. I've come across a lot of these just because I've wandered in VRChat and been part of the community, and I can see these things are some of them I think are going to help people, but other things I think are going to really expand on enabling expression. That's why we're doing all this. I mean, selfishly, I think I'm pushing for a lot of these things because
because you want them.
I want to enjoy them.
Them's the perks, man.
But also because I think a lot of people will enjoy these kinds of things. I think that being able to put a portal down better, or being able to hang out and make a group and travel world through friends, and I think these are just common sense, obvious things that people want in VRChat, and we're working on it. So a lot of hard work, trust me. Next 6 to 9 months before the holidays, hopefully some major updates for all y'all. Yeah, I'm excited. This is like, for me, I feel like we've done all these like bug fixy kind of things, and sure, there's still like security and bug fix things to work on, but those are
stuff
happening.
To get to. Yeah,
those are happening, but we haven't really had a period where we've been able to really focus on enabling expression for the community, and now we are, and I feel like I can't wait to start deploying some of this stuff, because I feel like you guys are going to just my view is VRChat's going to get really awesome. Like, it's already pretty cool. It's just going to get really, really, really cool.
I agree. It feels like we caught on fire in January 2018. We're only just now stomping out the last embers, and we can get back to some of that stuff.
Our feet are cool again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for that particular section. Oh, there's one that one's yours, Ron. In the section that are things that are important but don't fit anywhere else.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
right.
That's you.
So this is funny. I always say VRChat's gonna die.
Ran out of money.
VRChat's dying.
Oh, wait for it. Wait for it.
I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
And I was like, seriously, man. Like, it's like, dead. We're dead. We're dying.
Oh man.
VRChat's good. We're good. We're good for a long time. Like years. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
Show me the money, Ron. Show me the money.
Hang on. See, if I had a better UX, I could do this faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're good. Honestly, we're good. In fact, we're so good that we're hiring. And we said this before, but now we will have
we mean it.
A number of job recs. I know. So here's the thing. It's really difficult we get a lot of emails from people wanting to join. I think the kind of main thing I want to sort of communicate is we're sort of not hiring for moderators or interns, like volunteer positions. We're more hiring for developers, people that would join our team, and we need more help. Basically, build all this stuff we've just basically just done talking to you about. We've got people working on it, but we need more help. And so, engineers is a big one. API, they were on last stream. They're a small team. They need to expand. Like, all these things are a big deal. So I think within within a week or maybe next week, we have we're going to post some job recs out there, like concrete stuff, and we will contact anybody that has previously sent us their information and line them up for interviews and stuff. But VRChat's good. We're good. We're going to be good for a while. I'm passionate about it. I've been making games and apps for 31 years. I think that Hackspanner there's been doing it for a while. Tupper's here. Like, if it's hard to say, like, honestly, like if we didn't care as much as we did or whatever, there was some concern, we would just tell you guys, like, we're good. I think that a lot of people like to sow misinformation. If anything, our analytics, the numbers are great. Like there's definitely problems and we need to fix them, and we're sorry about that. And and we're small team,
and we're working on it
best we can, and we're working on it. And I don't like it any more than you guys like it. We're being attacked constantly with miscreants, but doing our best to work through that, and we're gonna keep going, keep making VRChat better, and hopefully in a couple of years from now we'll look back. These will be the good old days. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. We're good.
Well, I see you mentioned one puppeteer on the team, and I see Chris Patstone in our chat threatening him. I think he's jealous. I see him going by. Yeah.
Half the UX stuff is the expression stuff is to take on board all your gestures.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and make you more of a menace to society than you already are.
It's what it's about, man.
Scruffy. Well, check out Scruffy. Check out Chris Patstone. He's funny as hell, that guy.
We've got for those updates, for those the website updates, we currently have an old posting up there for 2 different jobs. When we have for 2 different positions, rather. When we update it, there's going to be a bunch of positions. There's like I don't remember how many, but it's certainly more than 2. So once you see more than 2, then you'll know that it's been updated. But just check the website. It'll be up there. I think unless either of y'all got anything, that's about it.
I might go hang out in public worlds in about after 15 minutes. I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to jump into VRChat.
Go hop around. Yeah.
If you want to find me, I'll be in Publix. If you want to come harass me, tell me I suck, or say nice things, I'll be.
Get your autograph.
How do you do that? Yeah. I don't have the ability.
Not yet.
I'll be selling mugs.
That's right.
Also not yet. But
so we actually our merch store, we actually made a bunch of cool stuff, and the quality wasn't great, so we down, like there's
as a result of some of the previous streams, like we looked into some more merch stuff, and it's just not looking super good. We didn't like it. Quality wasn't great. We'll talk more about it later once we actually get good stuff that looks good and not like it was bad. It wasn't great. What about you, Hack? You got anything?
No, that's it. Quality. All right. We're always shooting for quality.
Yes, of course. Let me see one in my notes here. Oh yeah, I mentioned it like a million times, but if you're curious about any of the features that we mentioned that are in the open beta, it's out right now. You can go try it. Join our Discord if you're not already in it. It's at discord.gg/VRChat. And you can check out the open beta info channel. There's a link you can get where it kind of subscribes you to open beta updates. And you can read about that in there and give it to yourself and get all kinds of pings about every single little patch we push for the open beta. You can also follow us on Twitter for other updates, including our blog posts when we put those out. If you have any feedback for the application, you can check out our feedback boards, not the Canny, the feedback boards. We renamed them. Still using Canny, it's just a better URL at feedback.vrchat.com, where you can post bug reports, you can post ideas for new features, you can post feedback or other suggestions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're done. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions or anything, you can at me at Twitter, VR Design Guy. You can do our Canny, or you can just meet me in VRChat. I wander Publix a lot in the evening, so just search for Ron and join on me and come harass me. Ask me questions. Lobby for your feature.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're done. Thanks, y'all. See y'all later.
I love this community, man. I really do.
Woohoo.
They're awesome.